Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Earhart, and I am so excited that you're here to catch the weekly replay of my laid-back yet very inspiring conversations with other full-time professional artists. The purpose of this series is to show aspiring artists that it is completely possible to have a great career in the arts. And if you ever want to tune in and have your questions answered in real time by myself or featured guests, then just check out the schedule over at facebook.com/groups/Artist Academy every Tuesday to catch us on live. I'll see you there. This episode is sponsored by the Artist Academy Advanced Membership, a program for artists who want to up-level their art game by taking it from a hobby or a side hustle to a full-time six-figure art business. With weekly trainings that include step-by-step proven art business techniques, plus painting tutorials from yours truly and other guest artists who are masters in their field, you will be well equipped to learn and grow into the highly skilled and highly profitable artist you know you're meant to be. I've figured out what it takes to build my own six-figure art business, and now my heart is set on teaching aspiring artists like you to do the same. It's not hard, but it does require your time and dedication. So if you're up for the challenge, go to advancedmember.com. That's advancedmember.com to learn more. This week's episode features an equestrian oil painter from Kentucky, Stephanie Hilen. Stephanie was actually requested to be on this podcast. A listener sent me a DM with their 5 favorite artists, and Stephanie was at the top of that list. So if you didn't know that you can request artists to be interviewed, now you do. Just send me an email or direct message, and I will do my best to get them on. I thoroughly enjoyed getting to interview Stephanie. She's such a sweetheart, and her beauty shines through into the art she creates. In this interview, we get into live painting, the challenges of painting quickly with oils, and she's even doing her own 29-day challenge for the month of February right now. And by the way, her Instagram grid is something to be noted. Her use of white space and just an overall clean yet colorful aesthetic is so pleasing to the eye, and you could check it out in the notes section. If you click the link, it will take you directly to her Instagram, so you can see what I mean. But let me know what you think about this week's episode with Stephanie Hilen. Hello.
Hi. So nice to meet you. Thank you for rescheduling and
you too.
So flexible. Awesome.
No problems. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. This is a little bit out of my comfort zone, as probably most artists, but
yes, but I'm so glad you agreed to come on here. I love your style and everything.
Thank you.
I have so many questions and all of that. I am just getting over being sick, as you can kind of hear a little bit, but it's way better than it was on Tuesday. So,
well, I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, thanks. So if you just want to start and introduce yourself maybe to anybody who hasn't heard about you yet, and just kind of tell a little bit of how you got into the arts.
Yeah. Well, I'm Stephanie. I paint subject art, mostly realistic, but I do a lot of landscapes and horses, which is very common where I live in Lexington, Kentucky. We're the horse capital of the world, and we have Hilen here, so it's very popular. Yeah, that's a little bit about me. I am kind of dabbling and trying to figure out like my thing, and trying different areas, and I've done still lives, I've done pretty much everything, but I really love landscapes. And I just went full-time with my art business this January, so I've only been in it about a month, and it's been great.
Oh my gosh, so fun. So did you go to art school, or have you been painting since you were little? Like, how did all that begin?
Yeah, I have always been drawing and painting. Like, I remember before I could even write, I was drawing. My mom told me I would draw hot air balloons, which is kind of the theme with my art too recently. But like in grade school and stuff, we would do art contests, and I would win a lot of times. So I knew like people would tell me like, you're really good at this. So I've always had like a thing for it, and I knew I was pretty good at it. So I just kept going with it and would always like doodle and stuff. And then in college, I went to Center College, which is a liberal arts college. It's I studied painting there as well as German, but that's where I really learned how to paint and like use oils. So ever since then, I've just loved oils, and that's pretty much what I work with for the most part. But shortly after that, actually, I never really like considered doing art as like a career. Although my grandmother's an artist, but she would always say, like, don't do art. There's no money in art. And so I was always, like, scared about that. And I never really considered it, like, to be a real thing until recently. Right after college, I got married. So it was, like, boom, boom, like, life all at once. And, like, after that, I slowly started, like, people would ask me for stuff. And I'd be like, sure, yeah, I can paint that for you. And so my business kind of like started off as commission-based, like just doing commissions. I didn't really like have my own thing. So that's how it was built, mostly like word of mouth, people who knew me, like friends and family at first, and then it kind of grew a little bit. And then I started my Instagram and Facebook, and I've gotten a lot of requests, you know, just based on social media. But now I'm like trying to do some of my own things and like really find what I want to do. You know, I'm in that like kind of in between stage where I'm figuring it out.
Yeah, well, I was Instagram stalking you today and earlier, and I noticed you do a lot of like wedding scenes. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that's a new thing.
Okay.
I just, I guess it's 2 Octobers now, was the first live painting I've done. Live wedding painting has become like a huge thing recently, which like, when it first came out, I was like, oh, I will never do that. Like, don't ever make me do that. And then people started asking me, and I was like, okay, maybe. And, like, the first one I did was a little bit rough because, you know, the first time you do anything, you have to learn, like, it's a huge learning curve.
Yeah.
And, like, thankfully, like, they knew going into it was my first one. It was, like, the first cold weekend in October. And my hands were frozen. I was getting my paints everywhere, like, and they're oils, so it's not exactly good. Not everywhere, but, like, all over my hands and stuff, and I had to wash my hands all the time. But they were so frozen. But, yeah, since then I've kind of, like, gotten my groove. I did quite a few last year, and that's, like, really what's helped my business kind of, like, take off as well, because it's been a huge part of it. So, like, live painting, I guess I can go into, like, a little bit of my process with that.
Yeah.
So basically, I paint the scene while it's happening. It's not like, oh, I bring a picture and I paint it. It's like usually either the ceremony or the reception, like the first dance at the reception. I will paint, you know, whatever they want me to paint. I'll set up a couple hours early and start like sketching in the background and lay down like a base layer. And then like as people start coming in, I'll try and add people, and then once, you know, the ceremony or whatever starts, then I'll try and get, like, the bride and groom really quick, and then maybe even some of the bridesmaids, you know, the bridal party. And I don't usually finish it, but that is my goal, like, to paint quicker and figure out how I can, like, get it, like, really almost finished by the end of the night. So I'll take it back in my studio afterwards, and I'll finish it up, and then I'll send it to them once it's dry.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's so fun. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, my first question was, like, how early do you get out there? And, like, how quick are you painting? Oh, my gosh.
You know, I have been there. It's usually, like, 2 to 3 hours early is my ideal time to get there. But, like, I have had instances where I've only had about 30 minutes to set up before the ceremony began because they were taking photos. Like, it was this old house, and they were taking photos on the front porch where I needed to be. And I was, like, freaking out a little bit. I was like, are you done yet? But it all worked out fine, which was good. Yeah. So, I mean, I can work with any kind of timeline or, you know, any space.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. I love how almost like your niche kind of finds you. Like people just kind of start requesting that, because I've never been requested to do that. I don't think it just hasn't come to Missouri yet. Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
But,
yeah. Well,
yeah.
I've seen that you live paint, but you paint like a certain like something, right?
Yeah. It's not necessarily wedding stuff. Speaking of wedding, I'm literally leaving today to go out and get married.
Oh my gosh, today?
Yeah. So like we drive to St. Louis here at like noon or 1, and then we get married in a couple days.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah.
Congratulations, that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm like, speaking of your wedding stuff.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's so exciting.
No, yeah, but so what was the tipping point that took you from like hobby to professional artist? Like, was there like a you quit your job thing, or?
Okay, so it was very gradual, actually.
Yeah.
So like I said, I got married right after college, and I've had a couple of jobs since then. I worked at a bank for a while, and it's totally random because, like, you know, I'm an art person, and it was all numbers, and I processed loans and stuff, and it was terrible. And then I started doing marketing for a construction company, and I really, really enjoyed that. I learned so much. Like, that's where I kind of was self-taught on all the Adobe programs. Like, I learned Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Lightroom, all that, which I really use now, too, for my business. So all along that way, I was doing art, you know, in the evenings and weekends when I could. And the last 2 years is when it really started, like, building up little by little, and I was like, maybe I can do this full time, like maybe I can make it work. So this past year, like, I really put it into fourth gear, and like I was like, I'm gonna make this happen, like I really want to do this. And my husband was like, I mean, you just have to show me that you have a plan and we can, you know, survive. So yeah. I worked really hard, and I was able to match my corporate salary with my art sales, which I was so proud of. And I was like, okay, I can do it. Because, like, you know, if I'm doing it full time, then hopefully I can at least make that much again, if not more. So that's where it kind of came to, like, I needed that safety net before I was comfortable, like, making that leap to go full time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I think a lot of people say that too. It's like it's just a gradual thing. And I love how you mentioned that you like really kicked it into fourth gear, because it does take a lot. Like, and I think that's a lot of times people don't realize that too. So I love when, you know, someone who's in the middle of it is saying that, because it just kind of like reminds us that, hey, it does take a lot of work at first, and then it can get a little bit easier.
Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you, like, that fourth quarter when it's Christmas time too, and I'm doing so many commissions, I did not sleep like the entire month of November and December.
Oh, wow.
So it's really hard, and I was like, I'd never want to do this again. It's crazy.
It's got to be easier. So what makes up your typical work day? How many hours do you spend painting?
Okay, so I haven't quite figured that out yet because I'm still new to my typical new work day. But so this month in February, I've been doing 29 paintings in 29 days.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like your 31-day painting challenge in January, but I was like, I wasn't ready in January because I just went full-time like mid-January. So February, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I want to, you know, be able to paint faster. I want to figure out like what kinds of things I like to paint, and it'll be good like to get that habit in place. So this month I've been painting at least 4 hours a day, if not more, which I need to get a little bit quicker at. And I can't quite get ahead yet. Like, I'm trying to figure out how I can, like, some days I can start paintings in the evening for the next day, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. And so, but I've finally gotten to a groove where I feel like I'm comfortable and I know I can do it. It's just like figuring out what to paint is kind of the hard part now. But so, like I said, like 4 hours a day right now, at least, painting in the studio and otherwise. And, you know, whenever I do a painting a day, I also post it to Instagram and Facebook and on my website. So it's a lot of that business stuff, and then, you know, emails in between. And I'm also working on a couple commissions at the same time. So it's just been kind of a crazy month, and I can't wait for March. I'll say that.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, you're halfway through today, right? Yeah.
I know. Yes, happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, oh yeah, happy Valentine's Day to you as well. I forget. Yeah. That's so funny. So much art love.
Yeah.
Awesome. So can you talk us through your painting process? Is there any methods or techniques that you've picked up through your years?
Yeah, like I said, I learned technique in college whenever I was oil painting. So we did tons of figure painting. That was like the main thing that we did. And we would do like anything ranging from like portraits where we would see the same model like a week at a time, or we would just do like quick 5-minute poses like throughout 1 3-hour session and like just do a ton of paintings. So that really like got me in the habit of figuring out a good process to work with. And what I normally do is I'll do a wash of color, like a really thin wash of color with my oils, and then I'll kind of like rub it off with my paper towel so it's not too wet. And then I'll block in, you know, the scene. So I don't like I don't like finish it as I go. Like I'm more of a layer person.
Me too.
It's so hard. Like I don't know how people do that. Like I've seen like even oil painters where they're going to start in like the top corner and like finish it all the way down. Like even if it's a portrait, I'm like, I don't know how you do that. So yeah, I usually like I work thin to thick and like bold, bigger strokes to like more thin details.
Oh, awesome. Yes. Great. So is there anything you don't like to paint without?
Like everyone else, music, you know, something in the background or someone talking to me like a podcast. It just like kind of motivates me and like keeps me going. Like if someone's talking in my ear, then I'm like, oh yeah, they're awake with me too at 4 a.m. and I can just keep going.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And like good brushes too. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I was just going to say, and good brushes too. That's like really important for me with details, like having like that fine point and, you know, whenever they splay, it's really annoying.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Are you a nighttime painter since you mentioned 4 a.m.?
Well, it's been an adjustment because since I, you know, was working during the day. Oh. And so now I'm like trying to figure out that time, like when I am the most productive. And it's still like, I feel like I'm really motivated in the afternoons, but not quite in the evenings as much because we'll like, you know, I'll make dinner and then we'll watch TV and then I'm like, I don't want to get up and do anything. And I don't have like that, you know, those looming deadlines like I did whenever I was working during the day. So yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I'm still trying to wake up and paint at like 7 a.m. and that's just never happening. Like,
yeah.
It's so hard.
It is hard.
So are there any art lessons you've learned the hard way?
Well, okay, so live painting, we'll go back to that.
Yeah.
So that first one was a doozy. I kind of do have to watch my process with live painting because I am used to like letting a layer dry and then going back and painting with oils, you know, so it doesn't get too muddy. So I have to be really careful whenever I live paint because like you can't put too much in one area like to block it out. You really have to, it's easiest for me to kind of outline everything, like even with the people, the bride and the groom, and getting the proportions right, because like as you probably know too, like the drawing is the most important thing whenever you're painting to get it right. Like whenever I'm in my studio by myself, I'm just like paint, you know, like block it out, whatever, and then I get there eventually. But when I'm live painting, I feel like I really have to focus and like get it right that first time. So it's a little bit different of a process, and I did definitely, it took me a few tries to learn that the hard way to get it looking okay, you know, while I was painting. But business-wise, I mean, I don't think I've had such good clients. Like, I'm really lucky to be working with people I do. They're really great. Like, nobody's ever not paid me, and I always request a deposit up front, so it kind of, like, saves me, you know, if there was a problem. So, no, I mean,
good.
You know, just make sure you're covering yourself, I guess.
Yeah, so far so good. That's awesome. That's good to hear, too. Okay. Do you have a favorite past project?
Yes. Okay, so last August, I painted like my first like real collection, and it was like horses and landscapes. I collaborated with a local photographer and used her photos, like picked out her photos that I wanted to paint and created this collection. I was participating in, we have our main art fair here is called the Woodland Art Fair, and I got into it this past year, and I was so excited because it's kind of a prestigious one, at least around here. So I was like, I'm going to paint like a complete collection that I can sell there. And so one of the ones that I painted was like this really big one. I mean, it's not huge. Probably you paint like huge. I don't do murals. But it was 24 by 48. I've done bigger, but like it was this big starting gate scene, like at Hilen with the horses like just coming out of the gate. And it's just like one of my favorites. I had fun with the colors. Like I didn't paint it for anyone but me, and I had a great time doing it. And people really responded to it, and I sold it at the art fair. I sold almost half of everything that I brought, which was exciting. Yeah. Originals too. You can only sell originals at the art fair. So that was yeah, that was exciting.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Meredith just commented and said that, yeah, making it into the Woodland Art Fair is a big deal.
Yes, thanks, Meredith.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love how you painted it just for yourself too, and you're like, this is what I want to do. I think that's the thing that like shines the most with customers as well too. When you're doing something for yourself, and they see how much you love it. So, what is it about horses that you like? Do you have horses?
I don't actually. I grew up right next to Ramsey Farm, which is kind of a big farm in, the Lexington and Nicholasville area where I live. And I always watched the horses from afar. I never had any. I've never really even ridden a horse, and I've always wanted to. So I don't have any super personal connection with horses. They're just so beautiful and such a big part of the tradition and culture here. So I mean, I just love painting them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the Kentucky Derby where you are?
No, that's in Louisville, but it's close. It's an hour and a half from here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So kind of in the same area. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. What are your future art plans and goals? Any upcoming projects? What are you working on right now?
Okay, right now I'm in the middle of the 29 paintings in 29 days. I'm just trying to survive.
Yeah. I think they all know. Yeah, a lot of people know exactly where you're at. A lot of people are could not wait for February 1st.
Oh my gosh. It's hard. I knew it would be hard, but it's just a lot. Yeah, I mean, this year I want to do a couple of collections because I feel like I'll have the time. I want to take on a little bit fewer commissions. I feel like I've never not had commissions. There's just always commissions.
Good.
And I know, it's great. No, it's really great. I can't complain.
Yeah.
And also live painting. I'm doing, more of those this year too. But I really want to focus and create collections that represent what I really enjoy painting and kind of figuring out more of my artistic voice.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit general, but I'm just excited because I have never had this time to just focus on my art. Yeah. So I'm there's a million different directions I can go, but I just kind of need to focus myself and do okay, I need to do this collection and launch it by this time, and this collection and these art fairs. So I'm just taking it kind of quarter by quarter.
Yeah, that's the perfect way to do it too. So how are you getting most of your clients? Is it coming off of Instagram? Is it coming off of networking or?
Yeah, I mean, it's a mix between people who know me or who have seen my art somewhere. I sell some art downtown in a shop called Market on National. And also people who see me at weddings and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this was a thing. And then they'll ask me about, their wedding or something else that they want painted. So it's a lot of word of mouth as well as social media is a big part too. I get DMs a lot and email requests a lot from just social media, which has been a huge part of my business.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I bet at weddings too, because I bet everybody there is hey, you wanna come to my wedding? I'm getting married too.
Yeah, it's great. It's super great marketing. And these weddings, people sometimes, will choose maybe a live painter over videographer depending on the budget, but usually when you can afford a live painter, they're really nice weddings. And so it's super fun to be there and see these amazing decked out weddings, and then it's a great client base for people who want my services too. So it's really good marketing.
That is. Oh yeah. Man, that's great. That's a great idea. Anybody in Missouri that wants to do that? I don't see anybody doing it here.
Yeah, you should start it.
Yeah. I'm not much of a people painter. I have almost no experience painting people, but this would be a good experience doing it, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely the biggest thing with this has been my improvement. I'm obsessed with how much better my paintings have gotten since I've started live painting. It's just amazing because it is super challenging, and you really have to you paint straight, for 4 to 6 to 7 hours at a time, in front of people who are constantly interrupting you and being oh my gosh, is that me? And you're yeah,
and
sure.
They're paint me over there.
Yeah, they do that all the time. People will pose over there and be are you getting me over here? And I'm yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Hire me.
Okay. Yeah. Customer service.
So gotta make them happy. I'm the entertainment.
Yes, exactly. Your paintings are gorgeous, by the way. I was looking through them and I was just admiring, and because it takes
thank
it, because you're a portrait and a landscape artist from doing like
Yeah,
weddings
I
like
guess.
that.
I wasn't portrait before, but like since I've been doing weddings, yes. And I've also done a lot of pet portraits, but that's a little bit different. But yeah, I really enjoy like the details and stuff, but I'm trying to figure out a way I can loosen up my style. And this is helping with the 29 paintings in 29 days, just like making a mark, being confident in like the mark and leaving it alone. It's really hard for me to do that. I kind of like just want to keep working at it.
Oh, same. I always want to like blend out things. Like nope, there's no actual line there. I just blended it out. Like, I don't know. It's hard for me to make like a set line. I just have to leave it.
I know. Yeah.
So last question on here, and I won't keep you for much longer. Is there any advice that you would give artists who want to make art their full-time career but just don't know where to start?
Oh, that's a tough one. You just have to start. I mean, honestly, you're going to create a lot of bad paintings or whatever kind of artwork you do. Like, you really are. You don't have to show them all. Like, as long as you keep going, like, that's the main difference between, like, people who make it work and people who don't. Is, like, you have to keep going no matter what. If you want that to be your career, you just have to keep pushing through and finding your people. Because not everyone has to like your work, you know, like, it just takes one person to, like, buy that painting. You just have to figure out who that is. So just, like, keep painting and figure out your audience. Those are the two biggest things.
Such good advice. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on here and chatting with me. I feel like if we were close, I would be like, hey, you want to go hang out at this art thing? So,
I would love to, and I would love to paint your wedding, but I guess it's a little bit late.
I know, yeah, it's a little late. Yeah, we get married on Tuesday, so we like fly out today to go.
Okay,
do that. But yeah,
awesome.
But yeah, okay, I'm gonna go pack for my wedding. So
yes, I won't keep you. You need to go.
Right. All right. Well, thank you so much again. I wanted you on here. Actually, you were requested by someone. I don't remember who. Yeah, someone requested you, and I don't remember exactly who it was, or I would totally give him a shout out right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I just want to let you know that. And I saw your stuff, and I was like, yes, I will ask her.
I would love to know who that was.
Okay,
I'm so happy.
Yeah, I'll look through my emails and try to find it. But yeah, okay. Well, thank you again so much for coming on here. I know you for sure have inspired someone on here listening, or that will come on the podcast. The podcast will air on Tuesday, and I'll send you links to everything. And yeah.
Okay, thanks so much. It was so good meeting you, Andrea, and talking to you. Like,
you too.
What you're doing is super inspiring, and I wish I had found it when I was like starting out, because the like free information you're giving out is just like super helpful, and I'm so glad that there's someone out there doing that, because it's needed.
Thank you. Yeah, that helps me show up to the mic and do stuff like this. But yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I will talk to you later. Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye.
This episode is sponsored by the Artist Academy Advanced Membership, a program for artists who want to up-level their art game by taking it from a hobby or a side hustle to a full-time six-figure art business. With weekly trainings that include step-by-step proven art business techniques, plus painting tutorials from yours truly, and other guest artists who are masters in their field, you will be well equipped to learn and grow into the highly skilled and highly profitable artist you know you're meant to be. I've figured out what it takes to build my own six-figure art business, and now my heart is set on teaching aspiring artists like you to do the same. It's not hard, but it does require your time and dedication. So, if you're up for the challenge, go to advancedmember.com. That's advancedmember.com to learn more. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. If you review our podcast and send a screenshot of that review to me on Instagram, I am at Art by Andrea Earhart. I will then promote your art on my story and tag you as a little thank you for helping me grow this podcast and our Artist Academy community. I have a reach of over 50,000 on Instagram, so this is a little help me to help you incentive. Also, if you ever want your questions answered in real time by myself or featured guests, then just hop on over to facebook.com/groups/Artist Academy to check out the schedule every Tuesday to catch us on live. I'll see you next week.